regular council meeting for regular full council meeting Tuesday, July 26, 2022 is called to order at 7:02 p.m. We're going to first do a silent meditation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, may I please have roll call, please?
Roll call. Mayor Nickerson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Erbaum.
Present.
Councilperson Perella will not be in today. Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Councilperson Martin.
Present.
Also for the record, Janice Jacoby, Village Clerk, Christy Alou, Village Manager, Joseph Geller, Village Attorney, and Chief Mendez. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm going to, before I ask for approval of the agenda, I'm going to strike for tonight E1, and I'm going to have a new E1, which is the Girl Scout flag. What's the official name? Retirement. Receptacle. Girl Scout flag retirement receptacle will be the new E1. That will be the new E1, and then I'm going to strike also H2 from the agenda for today. All right. With those changes, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Councilperson Martin. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Vice Mayor Erbaum. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, moving right along. Acknowledgement of visitors and or special presentations. The new the new E1 is the retirement receptacle. Come on up. Come on up to, you can come up also. I think, are both of them working? Yes. Yeah, we're good. So you can go one to one and he can go to the other, or you guys can go both to the same podium. Either one, either way. All right, well, there you go, my brother.
Hi, so my name is Amelie Ice. I am a Girl Scout from Troop 13105 in Miami Shores. And so I'm working on my Gold Award project, which is basically the highest award a Girl Scout can earn. And basically what I want to do is create 3 flag retirement boxes and put them in Miami Shores, El Portal, and Biscayne Park. And so we're hand making these boxes. And it's basically to serve the purpose of when the flag is tattered, torn, worn down, and it's unfit to represent the country, people have a place on where to put it so that the Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, and Cub Scouts of Troop 13105 can properly retire the flag and hold that ceremony.
Thank you very much. Could you say your address for the record, please?
118 Northeast and 102nd Street.
Thank you very much. And this is something that all the Girl Scouts do, or is this a project that you came up with yourself, or?
Yeah, so this project is specialized towards me. This is something that I myself am passionate about. I've gotten sponsorship by the Rotary Club of Miami Shores to help construct this project, and yes.
Well, we appreciate that. We think this is wonderful. Your father's also here. I don't know if he would like to say something, or at least come to the podium, recognize yourself. Because I know that he's championed this also.
Yeah, so I'm involved with the Scouts in 1305. I was the Cub Master for the Cub Scouts. I'm involved with the Boy Scouts, as well as the Girl Scouts, so it's the whole family. And the idea here is that there is a proper way to dispose of a flag, and then there is kind of the, I guess, improper way of doing it. This allows for when you have a flag that needs to be properly retired, i.e. basically destroyed, that the Boy Scouts, the Cub Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the Rotary Club, veterans organizations will do that task for you. People can bring their flags to the flag retirement box that will be situated somewhere here in the village.
It'll be outside in the front on the side. Yes.
And that it will be collected probably on a monthly basis, depending on the amount of flags we got. There is, if you want to see one in action, at the recreation facility in Miami Shores, there is a flag retirement box there. It's been there for 3 weeks, and it is completely filled now. So it is something that we're going to have here in El Portal, Miami Shores, Biscayne Park, and I think it'll be a nice thing. So.
I think so. Also, I want to say that we really appreciate this. It's important that you know, with our country, with the U.S. flag, that we do retire them properly. I think that's something that sometimes gets overlooked, and it's something that you know you can bring to attention a lot of individuals that really don't think about it on a daily basis. So I think that's very, very important. Attorney Geller.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I just want to echo what you just said. The fact is that the flag is our national symbol. I've, in the past, had something to do with, you know, the care of flags when you put them up every day and things like that. A lot of people in these communities fly flags, and when a flag is no longer fit to be flown, I mean, it should not be thrown in the garbage. It's disrespectful. It's disrespectful to the people who died for it. So I really want to congratulate this young woman for this project. It's a very important project. It's one we should all take seriously. And the notion that our flags will be disposed of in a proper manner befitting our national symbol is really important. So thank you very much for undertaking this. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very, very much. And of course, this is no cost to the village, you guys. One thing I do ask, when you all are about to put the retirement receptacle out here, make sure you contact me so that we can make sure that you're recognized as you guys set it up and put it out here. We really want to, you know, that to
We
happen.
also have not a press packet, but a packet for the newsletter.
That'd be perfect.
Email blast
Perfect.
to get the word out so that
Perfect.
people will know how to use it.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Any questions or comments from the Vice Mayor or anybody from the council? Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
Something's not right. I got it. Okay, I got it. I'm proud. How many veterans in the house? Raise your hand. I thought so. I'm it. And it just warms my heart to know that this is being done properly, because when I see a tattered flag, the flag being disposed of properly represents one of those that have already lost their life, giving us life. And that's why the proper disposal, truly that is why the proper disposal of the American flag is much revered all over the nation, but a lot of people don't know that. So it's not just something that's a project that you're doing, it's something better than that. And I thank you so much for asking El Portal.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor.
Thank you.
I'm a little taken back today because I swear like 48 hours ago, driving around, I saw someone flying an American flag on the back of their truck, and I was thinking to myself, they need to get a new one. And then I swear my next thought was, what are they going to do with the old one? And I don't often think about these things. And then here I am 2 days later with that solution coming to a reality. And so I'm pretty taken aback, honestly, by why that thought came into my head the other day, and then here I am sitting with this. So I am not a veteran, but do have an extensive family history, and Fort Sill, Oklahoma specifically holds a special place in my family's heart. And so I think this is great. I also love to see that it's multilingual, including Braille. That's fantastic, and the QR code is great. And I think this is an incredibly positive thing for the community, and thank you for bringing this to us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. All right, appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Can you leave me one extra one of those handouts? Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Take care. All right. Next up, you guys, we have E2. All right, so we have two legislative updates. I don't know, you want to go first? Either one of you guys can go first. Come on, State Rep. The floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. I love that. I get a clap just for saying good evening. I need to come over here more often. So my name is Dottie Joseph, and I have the honor and privilege of representing Florida House District 108, which includes the wonderful village of El Portal. I have the pleasure of serving with your attorney, your village attorney, Representative Geller. So I wanted to say good evening to the mayor, vice mayor, council members, Madam Clerk, Mr. Attorney, Madam Manager, and all the members of the public who took time out of your schedule to be here today to engage in your local government. So I commend you for that. That being said, I'm going to do a pretty extensive legislative update. So y'all let me know what's my outer time limit so I can, you're good? Okay. All right. So then you guys are going to get the full, straight up, no chaser version, okay? So buckle up. We had quite a bit of things going on in the Florida legislature this past session. I'll give you a little smidgen of other things from the prior session. So I'm going to start off with some good stuff. I'm going to let you know some not so good stuff, and then I'm also going to share with you some of the ugly stuff that came out of session, okay? So good stuff is I had a bill that I teamed up with Representative Tracy Davis to eliminate the statute of limitations as it relates to child sex crimes. So there was a period after which you could no longer prosecute. Now if you go after our babies, we can continue to prosecute that without a time limit. So that was one. Another piece of legislation, since the last time I came to you all, there were some things that passed that we didn't get to talk about, so I'm gonna run through those really quickly as well. We had HB 583, which passed, and what that does is it empowers victims to record their abusers who are contacting them in violation of a no contact order, okay? So if the judge says, hey, you're not supposed to be contacting this person, and you record them because they're contacting you in violation of the order, that used to be illegal because Florida's a two-party consent state. You need to get their consent before you start recording anybody on your phone. So this fixed that so that people are not in trouble. Another thing that we were able to do is get $9 million in funding to address healthcare disparities. We also were able to expand the Medicaid coverage period for maternal care after birth from 60 days to a whole year. That's supposed to increase, obviously, the life of the mothers to make sure they're with us. And then for criminal justice reform, after the murder of George Floyd, a lot of things came out of the legislature, but one of the things we were able to get passed was HB 7051, which put in a lot of criminal justice reform. For people who are not familiar with how that process came about, right here I convened a number of local law enforcement agencies, local groups, everybody from Black Lives Matter to NAACP, ACLU, and lots of law enforcement agencies participated so we can put our heads together between Miami-Dade and Broward to identify what are some solutions that we could use to address the larger issues raised by George Floyd's murder, beyond just chokeholds. And we took a lot of those back to the legislature, and a lot of members of the Black Caucus took some of those. Other people came with their ideas, and we ended up with what ended up being our criminal justice reform package. And that included everything from requiring mandatory excessive force data, including race information, so that we can go back as a legislature and see what else needs to be done, requiring a duty to intervene for officers. You may have seen in the news recently the officer that was being punished in Broward because he attacked another officer when she was intervening. So now we're having a duty to intervene. It's not optional. And then a duty to render medical aid, just based on what you're able to do. We're not asking people to turn into doctors, just for law enforcement. If you see the person needing medical aid, you render medical aid. And then we also set a minimum age of arrest. We had a situation where lots of our babies were being arrested and it didn't even make sense. So we set a minimum age. I think it's set to 7. We wanted it higher, but we'll take that for now. revised chokehold guidelines. We also put in some training requirements that FDLE is developing regarding de-escalation, proportional use of force, and how to interact with individuals with mental health or substance abuse impairments, okay? Now, this you might want to mark down because it's happening now. We have several sales tax holidays that were passed as part of our larger tax budget. The back to school one started July 25th and it goes through August 7th. So if you have anything that includes school supplies, shoes, uniforms, computers under $1,500. Tool time, that is September 3rd through the 9th, that's coming up. I'm telling you these now because you're not going to have another village meeting. So I'm just putting the information out there. Whoever wants to use it can. So power tools, work gloves, toolboxes, flashlights, batteries, safety glasses will be covered. And then we have from July 1st to June 30th of next year, baby and toddler clothing and diapers, which is tax-free. We'd like to get those things tax-free, you know, all the time, but I'll take a holiday in the meantime. We're still pushing for that. Impact-resistant doors and windows, that is July 1st of this year till June of 2024. So you have some time with the impact windows, but I'm putting that information out there. Elections are upon us. Some people have started receiving their ballots by mail. I will remind you that you need to make sure that you sign your ballot before you just put it in the mail, and your signature should match whatever's on file. If you're not sure, update it or take it to an early voting site so that you can turn in that ballot and vote in person if you're not sure, and make sure that your signature matches. We have the deadline to request your vote by mail ballot is August 13th. So if you had not done it the last election cycle, you do have to do it now every year. There was a law passed, and I'm going to get into that you have to request it every election cycle. Early voting begins in Miami-Dade County from August 8th, and it goes through August 21st. I encourage people, if you want to go in person, that's the best time to go because you can go literally anywhere. You don't have to go to your specific precinct. If there are any issues, you can address them. The primary election is going to be August 23rd. All right, if you have any questions, concerns, I'm speaking to people in the audience, but also those who may be tuning in at some other time, you can call the Supervisor of Elections at 305-499-VOTE. That is for Miami-Dade County. Now, yes, sir?
Will citizens be able to vote for Representative Doti Joseph on August 23rd?
For folks who would like to support me and keep me in office, yes, they may. And I am not talking about that specifically on here. But thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. And then, so let me just address one more thing that's a little different in this election. It's a primary election. Florida is a closed primary state. So normally what that means is you can only vote for people in your party. So Democrats can only vote for Democrats, Republicans can only vote for Republicans. But because this particular election, it's only Democrats on the ballot, you have a unique opportunity where anybody from any party can participate in this particular election for mine. If there is one where there are other people on the ballot, then it becomes closed. So anybody, if you like what you're hearing, you just like my smile, you can vote for me. All right, now, moving right along. There was a bill, now I'm gonna get into some of the bills that were passed that were significant this session that you should be aware of. HB 7, which is the quote-unquote Stop Woke Act, it bans K-12 instruction in a manner that makes people quote-unquote uncomfortable or feel guilty based on their race, sex, etc. Okay, that's problematic for a number of reasons. It's being litigated as we speak, but it basically limits people's ability to talk about history in an honest way, and it exposes teachers to potential liability. In addition, that same law also rolls back a lot of protections that we've had for employment discrimination and advances in diversity education, unfortunately. So now, if you talk about race or any of these things, sexual harassment in a way that makes the sexual harasser feel uncomfortable, now the private, not public, private employer is subject to potential liability for a discrimination suit. So that's literally turning anti-discrimination law on its head. under the cloak of colorblindness, which is just an excuse for we don't want to talk about stuff that needs to be fixed. Now, HB 5 is the 15-week abortion ban. I'm sure you heard plenty about that. One thing I will let people know is that Florida has a different right of privacy enshrined in the Florida Constitution, which is different than the United States Constitution. So whereas some states, once Roe versus Wade was overturned, it automatically set into place some trigger laws that put in some additional abortion bans. Florida is not one of those states. Some of my colleagues in the legislature are looking to change that. The only thing I will mention about that particular bill is that I filed exceptions for rape, human trafficking, and sexual coercion. For folks who don't know what sexual coercion is, it's when basically you negate the person's consent. So it could be somebody poking holes in a condom and up to and including rape. So anything that basically takes away your consent, that would be considered sexual coercion. There were no exceptions for any of those. All of those exceptions, plus incest, which a colleague of mine proposed, were all voted down. The other one was 1557, the Don't Say Gay bill, prohibits classroom discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity, and creates liability exposure for teachers. I'm generally not a fan of banning books, but that's what we have right now. We have SB 524, the elections bill that I alluded to earlier. It did a number of things. It created an Office of Election Crimes and Security within the Department of State. So we have a police force that's there for elections. Interestingly enough, the bill did not address any kind of fraud that actually happened in the past election. So that is what it is. It requires it renamed the drop boxes to secure ballot intake stations. It punishes third-party registration groups, like churches and nonprofits who are trying to get people registered to vote. It increases the removal of voters from the roll and how frequently that's done and how it's done. And, you know, it basically makes it harder for people to exercise their freedom to vote. Now, SB 1808 is the Anti-Immigrant Families Bill. It went into effect on June 17. And I think it's also called the Immigration Enforcement Bill. It expands the definition of what constitutes a sanctuary policy. It requires each county law enforcement agency operating a detention facility to enter into a specified agreement with ICE to assist with immigration. So normally, there's a separation between what happens with the federal government and the local government, and what we're doing, or what was done there by the majority of my colleagues, was to eliminate that separation and force local law enforcement to cooperate in immigration enforcement. It also prohibited a governmental entity from executing, amending, or renewing any contract of a common carrier that transports children or anybody that is deemed to be an immigrant, possibly from the Texas border. To go along with that, there's also a $2 million line item in the budget to help support that. I'm not sure what that's going for. All of our questions to clarify that went unanswered. Redistricting, okay, y'all having fun yet? Redistricting. As you may or may not know, every 10 years, the legislature goes through a process after we get the census numbers to reapportion, so that we try to make everybody's vote have equal weight, okay? So they redistrict all of the areas, and this happens from the federal level on down to the local level. In 2010, 63% of Florida's voters approved the Constitutional Amendment 5, which called for fair districts. And the point of that was to allow minority communities to have their ability to elect the representative of their choice. That's one. And a second point of it was to make sure that we were electing our representatives rather than having politicians gerrymander and, you know, cherry pick who their constituents would be. All of that being said, according to 2020 census data, nearly all of the country's population growth in the last decade were due to communities of color, particularly in Florida. but there were no new minority seats drawn, and no explanation as to how, if at all, language minorities were accounted for in the new census. So there were 3 different maps that we had to do in the Florida legislature. We had the state Senate, the state House, and the federal Congress, okay? So those were the maps that we were dealing with. We had some issues with the first 2, with all of them actually. They passed, and the governor vetoed the only one that he could, which was the congressional one. And in so vetoing, he claimed that he wanted it to be colorblind and did not want to take into account race. But in so doing, he only slashed the representation of black members in Congress and preserved and proactively preserved all of the Hispanic seats, which all happen to be held by Republicans. In so doing, he stacked the deck, now 20-8, as opposed to what it was previously. And that's still in litigation, and while a court recently held that that map was unconstitutional, it's too late in the game to do anything about it because it's time to vote. And that litigation will continue, but the elections are what they're going to be right now. So that's congressional redistricting. Oh, and there was a bonus during that special session. So we were brought in for that special session. I told you the governor vetoed the maps, and I told you the map that passed, but this time, neither the House nor the Senate, Republican dominated, decided that they were even gonna try to draw the maps, even though it's our constitutional duty to do it. And instead, they would just adopt whatever the governor proposed, which they did. That's how we got the quote-unquote illegal maps that we have right now. That being said, he also took a stab at Disney that was not part of the special session and eliminated the special taxing district that Walt Disney had because they dared speak up against the Don't Say Gay bill. So that was special session number 1. Just when you thought it was over, they called us back for special session number 2. And in special session number 2 was one that I personally and several of my colleagues had been begging for, which was to address rising property insurance rates, which are exorbitant in Florida. I don't know about you all, but those rates have been going up. And we have been clamoring for them to do something about it. Finally, we get one Republican senator to join in, so we're able to call a special session. We have the special session, and I'm a little pissed, so let me try to just read my notes. While there were some positive parts of the bill to prevent dropping coverage related to roofs for fund repairs, I voted against it, and I'll tell you why. Because it did absolutely zero to bring down your rates, like not one thing. In fact, it gave a $2 billion bailout to insurance companies. And it made it harder for consumers and their lawyers to pay out valid claims. What you hear is that, oh, it's because of the lawyers and fraud and blah, blah, blah. Well, which lawyers? Is it the insurance company lawyers that don't pay out valid claims in a timely manner, or the lawyers who are fighting to make sure that the little guy gets a fair shake to get paid out on a claim that they've been paying premiums for forever? Anyway, that happened. I proposed an amendment to fix the consumer rights issue, to take out that component, and they said no. A colleague of mine proposed an amendment to at least hold a little bit of accountability so that whatever profits the insurance companies get as a result of this legislation, that at least 5% would go back to, you know, homeowners, and they said no. So there you go. The hope is that maybe in 18 months, insurance companies might take pity on somebody and do something for someone, but it's not gonna help any of us anytime soon. One other positive thing that came out of that was Surfside reforms. We have Senator Jason Pizzo, who used to represent this district, but now in redistricting, that is now going to be Senator Chevron Jones, who's representing us. And your own village attorney represents part of that area of Surfside, and worked with our colleague, Republican Danny Perez, who is slated to be in leadership coming up. Imagine what we could accomplish when we put things together and work together. They were able to put together some really important structural inspection programs and other measures that would protect people from things like the Champlain Towers collapse. So that was one positive thing that came out of the mess that was the last special session on property insurance. Some other things I filed that did not pass. I filed a bill to eliminate Florida's sales tax on gas. Don't know if you even know we had a sales tax on gas, but we do. We couldn't get that, done, so they gave us a little bit. There's going to be a quick gas tax holiday on that one. I filed legislation to fix Florida's broken unemployment compensation system. I don't think too many of us knew how bad it was until the pandemic hit. And Florida ranks at the bottom of what we do and how we pay out and how we process claims. And while my office continues to help people with their claims as they go through them, the Republican-dominated legislature has basically refused. It passed unanimously out of the Senate the prior session. We filed it again, and now because the powers that be decided that they just don't care about this issue, it continues to be dead, and Florida remains at the bottom. Now, I also filed legislation to decriminalize marijuana, but not wholesale, just low-level use, so 1 ounce or less. So instead of getting a criminal conviction, you would get a $50 fine, and folks who, need help can actually get medical attention as opposed to what we see happening in our criminal justice system. I filed legislation with a colleague to expand Medicaid. If you care about life and you want people to live, it's helpful for them to have affordable coverage. Right now, our colleagues at the federal level have indicated specifically for the GOP that they want to eliminate Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare. We're doing all we can to preserve these programs because we know for our fixed income seniors in particular and other people who just can't afford it, when they need medical attention, they can't just book a private jet and fly to whatever specialist, like they need help now. So still fighting for that. And I think I'm just gonna stop. I don't think you all have any questions. Now, in terms of the budget, we had quite a bit of things. I'm vice chair of the Miami-Dade delegation. And while I am pleased to report that we got literally billions of dollars in for infrastructure to address climate change resilient issues throughout this corridor, unfortunately, none of the ones for El Portal made it through. And I'll let Mr. Pinsky talk a little bit about that. The other areas did. And previously in the budget, we got some funds in, and the governor vetoed the ones for El Portal. And somebody needs to ask him about that because I've asked and they don't really have an answer. But I'm letting you know because this is our community. And I will say that the funds that we were able to bring home to do a lot of the things came from Biden bucks. So from the American Rescue Plan, 40% of the state's budget came directly from those funds. So just letting people know, and I will turn it over to Mr. Pinsky to talk a little bit about not just the budget, but some workarounds. So one of the things that I've been able to learn how to do in this process to avoid the veto stuff is to make sure that our villages and communities apply for funds that come through other mechanisms. So he's going to talk about the status of some of those. And I remain available if you have any questions. So I'll just pause here before Richard comes on up. No? Good? All right. Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Good evening, Richard Pinsky. Yes, if you can't win them with brains, do it with looks. Mayor, council members, vice mayor, clerk, city attorney, madam manager. That made my presentation a lot shorter and much easier. So thank you to Representative Joseph and her aide Octavia. Thank you. Go FSU. I like your face mask. I do want to hit on some of the funding issues, and let's drill down specifically to the village of El Portal. Representative Joseph, we are very fortunate in the village to have Representative Joseph as our representative. She's sharp, she's articulate, and I'm saying because she's here right now, but she's distinguished herself already in her career in the short term that she's been in the legislature. She's great on the floor, she's great in committee debate. Representative Geller will testify to that as well. She gets it right away. You don't have to, explain and go back over and over, so we're very fortunate. The same with Senator Pizzo, although we are losing him, but Senator Chev Jones is just as great and very well respected as well. So as far as representation in Tallahassee, we're good. We do need to focus on the things that we can get as far as funding. Representative Joseph touched on the session, the upcoming election dates, but as soon as that November election is over, on November 23rd, and by the way, I apologize, I had this on a great PowerPoint, but I didn't realize you all had upgraded well beyond my capabilities, so I apologize. So I'm using my notes from the PowerPoint. But November 23rd, it all starts again. Everybody's back in Tallahassee, House, Senate, reorganizing. And soon thereafter, January and February, committee meetings start happening. Committee assignments, the deck is reshuffled, and it all starts all over again in January and February. March 7th, the gun goes off, and we have the 60-day sprint for session. That thankfully will end on May 5th. But we are in a place right now where it's time to get ready. Not here tonight. The village is also represented by Dave Roberts and Eli Nortellis. Nortellis Roberts Group are not here this evening, and they're off up in Tallahassee doing great things. As Representative Joseph said, we did have 3 funding requests. One was the connection to Central Sewer on Northeast 2nd Avenue. As you know, the Raider Church, we've been somewhat handicapped trying to get that to full tax base because of the county not permitting it because it's not equipped with proper wastewater and sewer. Fortunately, I think that has worked out on its own, but we did have a $5 million request in to get it done. We did not have a match, and as you can well imagine, the legislature likes to see local governments putting some money up. So that was a $5.1 million request to get that done on Northeast 2nd. While it was critical to us, there were other communities throughout the state of Florida that were putting in skin in the game in their own share. So the legislature, in its infinite wisdom, decided to appropriate those funds towards communities that were putting up some of their own money. It's tough to say that we were being penalized for the financial condition of the village, which has also been exacerbated by hurricane dollars that have never been finally appropriated the way they should. It just backs everything up. So, but that was part of the reason why that funding did not reach the budget. We also had a parks improvement request. That was House Bill 9143, also sponsored by Representative Joseph, for $435,000. We did put $100,000 of our own money in that one. That was $535,000 project. Again, it wasn't a 50% match, and more they're trying to get communities to go through the agency grant process for things like parks. So we missed out on that. And finally, the House Bill 9145, which the building you're sitting in right now obviously needs a lot of renovation, a lot of upgrade. So we work with the city manager. That was a $900,000 request. Again, 100% for the legislature to fund. We had no money to kick in. And again, the legislature was trying to put dollars where local governments were kicking in. But we thank Representative Joseph. We thank Senator Pizzo for at least trying. There was an item in the budget that passed, which the budget is a 500-page document covering everything in the world, and there's things that at the last minute are put what they call in the back of the bill. So after the budget is done, nothing ever totals up totally, so the things get put in the back of the bill for very special, one-time only, one-year only appropriations. Well, one item that went unnoticed until recently was a local support project grant program, an LSGR, Local Support Grant Request. There was $200 million in that back of the budget item. That opportunity for communities to resubmit a grant opportunity from the legislature was just introduced. The governor did not veto that line item. So this means that the governor doesn't get to look at these new project grant requests that have just been established. The village of El Portal, and it had to be non-recurring, 1 year only, and it had to meet the same rules of a regular appropriation project. But it was basically an opportunity for local governments to take another bite of the apple of the same budget. So the village, again, with your manager and your mayor and the council, we submitted 2 LSGRs. The deadline was July 22nd for those projects to be in. We dusted off, we retweaked, retooled the ones that we did not get funded in the budget, and that was the parks improvements, as well as the Village Hall renovation project. So we will know, they're all on the list. You can go to the state website and see these, but supposedly around August 10th, we are going to start hearing the first successful awards. We're hopeful that because we did not get in the budget and didn't get anything like other communities did, that it will be an opportunity for the village to get some of that funding. Going forward, like I said, we're getting ready. One of the policy decisions that on funding that we've been working with, of course, the mayor, we've been on several calls and with the village manager, has been to think about the state agencies and the money that the state agencies have. More and more, the legislature has been moving away from pork projects, hometown projects that a powerful legislator will put in the budget only for one area. More and more, the legislature is trying to eliminate that, and the governor as well is trying to take blocks of money, like block dollars, put them into the agencies and have the agencies be more in control of handing out those dollars. So all the legislature has to do is look at a list of projects and either fund it or not fund it, and not take them out or whatnot. So if you work through the agencies nowadays and going forward, we're going to have a better and better chance of getting funding, particularly because we don't have to live necessarily by the 50% match all the time. So going forward, in the last 2 years, there's been a grant program that's been established called the Wastewater and Stormwater Grant Program. Right now, the legislature gave $125 million to the Department of Environmental Protection. Again, your city manager and your staff has put together, how many projects, Christy? 2? 2 projects, and because we are on the Little River, and we're also in the Miami-Dade County Adaptation Action Area, which means we are a priority area because of the impact that we have on the Little River and, more importantly, the north end of Biscayne Bay. We are hopeful in our conversations with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection to date, specifically about this grant program, that we will be successful in our program. They understand the role of El Portal in that system of the Little River and downstream into Biscayne Bay. They understand the financial challenges we have in trying to convert to a central sewer system. So hopefully that was submitted, and they usually start announcing those awards. They review them sometime September, October. The next is, this is the 3rd year, although the first year was only $10 million, last year was $20 million, this year is $20 million that the legislature gave for Biscayne Bay. Now you would think, because we have a couple of local Biscayne Bay commissions here in Dade County, that they would have a say-so. They really don't. The Biscayne Bay $20 million funding grant opportunity is actually being run out of the Florida Department of Environmental Protection as well. That also had a July 22nd deadline. That also, we've been in conversations with Adam Blaylock, the folks at DEP. We've explained, again, everything of why the impact to our Biscayne Bay is so important to the village. We're hopeful, and I believe, Christia, we submitted one grant for that. And probably the things they're interested in are the outfalls, our stormwater runoff going into the Little River and helping us fix that and our impact. Next is the Florida Resilient Grant Program. There was actually $200 million appropriated, but there's other things that money is going to go to. So there's somewhere between $100 and $125 million that will be available to local governments throughout the state of Florida. Now, Resilient Florida program is for hardening against flooding. So while the other ones, although Biscayne Bay could be a flooding issue, but those other programs are more for wastewater and stormwater. How communities can be more sensitive to what they're putting in the water bodies in the state of Florida. This particular one, the Resilient Florida Grant Program, is really to help the communities mitigate against their own flooding internally. And we do have, whether it's the El Jardín area, we do have flooding issues. And now that one is going to have a September 1st deadline for submittal. And Christia, we are right in the middle of preparing that, correct? Right.
Absolutely, yes.
Two of them, or is it one?
Right now it's just one,
Okay.
because it's a flood mitigation
Okay.
grant, so we're
Okay, good.
submitting.
That's a flood mitigation grant. Okay, good. Next is the Florida Recreational Development Grant Program, acronym FERDAP. Not a very sexy, interesting name, but it's referred to as a FERDAP grant. The legislature fully funded FERDAP this past session to the tune of somewhere around $11 million. These are smaller grants, but they help communities like the village with their parks. While they like to see some money and skin in the game, it's not necessarily. So again, I've been working with the mayor and the village manager to encourage, rather than put an appropriation in for parks, which we did, try to train ourselves to work more and more through FERDAP and through those programs that they go through the scrutiny. The staff at the agency understands it better. They're not political decisions. And once you're on that FERDAP list, Representative Joseph will, they vote, en masse of all the projects. They're either funded or they're not, or they're partially. Lately, they've been fully funding, so we have a great opportunity there. So there may be additional parks, and again, that has a September 1st deadline. Probably will be somewhere around $10 or $12 million, again, statewide. And so we've encouraged the village to do that as well. And I think if we start more and more into the grant programs, we're going to have a much better chance of success. I won't discuss any of the policy issues. Thank you to Representative Joseph. Preemption, of course, is always a big issue. There was a couple of big preemption issues, one in particular that would have allowed a liability for the village if they had passed an ordinance to that would impact businesses, a business loss of 15%. That did not make it. We worked very closely with the League of Cities. So with the League of Cities, their policies that you all participate professionally when you attend the League of Cities conferences, we support that. We're often called upon to help. Going forward, the governor has declared 2 weeks ago that typical election rhetoric, but you got to believe it, and that is there's going to be a lot of infrastructure money going into the 2023 session for the 23 next fiscal year. So we now to start thinking about infrastructure. That could be roads, that could be any of the curbs, safe streets, all those kind of infrastructure projects, in addition to water, that we need to start thinking about going forward. The legislature likes regional impact. So again, because we're sitting on the Little River, anything we can do with the Little River that has a regional impact, Northeast 2nd Avenue improvements, economic development, whether it's on US 1. So any of those things that may have a regional impact that we can say it's an economic development, not just for us, but for the area, that usually gets a better attraction from the legislature. So in summary, we're going to be putting a greater emphasis on grant opportunities from the agencies. We're going to be certainly scrutinizing them for local projects that have a regional impact. And then we also want to make sure that we can now, we probably need to beef up Miami-Dade County. What can we work with the local NGOs or other local governments like the county that likes our project, that we can say we're all in this together. And then get ready, travel to Tallahassee in February. It's going to be the prime time. That's when we're going to want to see everybody up in Tallahassee. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions, and thank you so much for the opportunity to continue to represent the village.
Any questions? Hello?
My name is Matthew Merrick, and I live at 453 Northeast 89th Street. What I heard was there were 3 opportunities for grants that were put forward, but they were not approved because we could not put up any village funding. But there was a workaround through LSG, which is something in the budget, and 2 of those grants then were put forward. But what I interpreted was, of those 2 that were put forward, one for the village hall improvements and the other for the parks. The one that wasn't put forward is the one I would assume would bring income into the village. So it doesn't necessarily sound prudent to me that the one that was left out was the one that may have started to solve some of the problems of not getting money for the first 3 grants. Can you explain a little bit more?
Great question. Matthew, is it?
Yes.
Thank you so much for that question. Spot on. And I have an answer. Actually, there's 2 parts to that answer. One is because that Northeast 2nd Avenue septic to sewer conversion was so critically important, but it also fits into something you can get from a different grant rather than the LSGR. So since there are 3 more wastewater similar opportunities, we first said, instead of putting 3 LSGRs in, let's take that one, because it's so important, and we'll move it to one of the upcoming water grant programs coming up. But in the meantime, I was informed that the folks at Raider Church are doing this in the private sector community. So there's no longer a need to ask for the Northeast 2nd Avenue connection money, because it's going to be done through the private sector. Okay, very good. So we'll see everybody in February in Tallahassee. God willing and the creek don't rise. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Next, we have good and welfare. This would be the time right now. If anybody has any questions or comments about the agenda itself, anything on the agenda, now's your time to come up and say so. Understand also when we get to the variances and things like that, you guys will be able to come up and talk about those things when we get to those agenda items.
Mayor, if no one comes, can I make a comment?
Yes, go ahead.
Since we're
Councilwoman.
talking about money, I don't know when Frederica will, for Congressman Woman Wilson will be visiting us, but she did send me an email. I don't know if she sent it to anyone else, but she sent it to our address. And one thing that passed, some of the important projects received direct support through the legislature. This is at the national level. $3.4 million to Miami-Dade County Water and Sewer for septic to sewer conversion projects in the cities of El Portal and Miami Shores. So we'll be hearing about that, Madam Manager. That's one of the main ones that I picked up on. And the other one was the $3 million to the United Way for the Miami Veterans Housing Project. That was pretty good. That one's been that one's been wanting for a long time. The other ones are basically for other cities, but those two very much struck my attention quite well. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Next, we have on the agenda, after Good and Welfare, we have, Madam Clerk, we have the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second by Councilperson Martin. All in favor for consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Hearing none, moving right along. Now we're moving to the agenda items. The first agenda item is the, Councilperson Martin, is the Pelican Harbor Seabird Station Partnership.
Okay, so I'm sure the members of the council know that I had my second child 2 weeks after everything was shut down from COVID. So for the past 2 years, I've had to figure out how to keep the kids safe, but also how to engage them in activities that are worthwhile and fulfilling. And during that time, we discovered that my kids actually love birding. And what a great place to do that is El Portal, which happens to be a bird sanctuary. So once my kids entered school, figured out that it's not just my kids, all kids benefit from birding. They hone in their skills for paying attention to detail, colors, shapes. So we figured, why not bring it to the rest of the kids here in El Portal? I reached out to Pelican Harbor, and they agreed to partner with the village on a Junior Bird Watchers program. And I'm bringing it to the council tonight, just so you guys can know what I'm working on. But in addition to that, you can chime in on ways that you think that this program can either be enhanced or any questions or concerns that you have as a result. What essentially we're thinking about doing is having parents sign their kids up for this program. They receive some sort of a starter pack from Pelican Harbor with some educational items and binoculars for their kids. And in addition to that, we have an interactive component whereby on the village website, we will highlight a bird of the month and then engage both the kids and their parents in finding this bird and receiving some sort of prize monthly that will be provided by Pelican Harbor. In addition to that, we have a community building element where hopefully we will have monthly events or bi-monthly events whereby parents can come out with their kids and interact with each other surrounding this really wholesome activity. And also, I think it'll increase the familiarity, not only with your neighbors, but with the streets, since all of our streets are named after birds as well. We also want to highlight community resources, maybe include that circulator as part of getting people from the east side over to the west or west side over to the east. And I think really importantly, it helps solidify the branding for the village, which will not only help us with just being proud of our community, but also help us find out and obtain strategic partnerships, because this program is one that comes at no cost to the village. It's just one where we found Pelican Harbor, who's a bird sanctuary. They're interested in the same thing that we're interested in, and we're able to use that commonality to offset any costs that would have been incurred if the village undertook this alone. So with that being said, I would love your input on whether or not you think this is a worthwhile program for us, because I definitely do. And if you have any points that you would like to highlight that we should focus on in the fleshing out of this program, since there's a lot of things that need to be fleshed out and I'm working with the attorney on, but now would be a great time for you guys to chime in.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Martin. This is wonderful. Really appreciate you bringing this to the table. And you know, it strengthens what we already have with Pelican Harbor Bay. We all know they're building that new facility right across the river. That glass facility is going to be wonderful. It's expensive. It's going to be beautiful. And they're building that right across the river right here. And so Madam Manager will tell you, and this, and, you know, a great thing also, Councilperson Martin, is that, you know, it's not going to be of any cost to the village. We always try to save costs whenever possible. But, you know, in all fairness and in all transparency, they shouldn't have any cost for the village, because Madam Manager will tell you that they always have me do letters for them so they can secure funding from Tallahassee. Madam Manager, they're always coming for me to do letters for them for funding, for securing funding. And I've done multiple letters for them that have brought them funding throughout the year. So we work with them and we've helped them out many, many times. So it's good that, that we're going to establish this partnership officially through you. And I appreciate this, Councilperson Martin. It's a wonderful situation.
Sounds good. Any other comments?
I would just say that also any activities towards educating certainly the youth, but public in general, towards water quality issues and how it affects the wild birds as well, might be something that would be.
I definitely take that. And I will say that was one of the things we discussed is that, yes, this is a program that's geared towards the kids. But I know as a parent of kids that enjoy birding, I've learned so much about the natural environment, ways to preserve it, and identifying birds, which is not something that used to be my bag, but now I love it. And so, yeah, we'll definitely make sure that those items are included as well.
You have my 100% support, Madam Councilwoman. Whatever you need, just let me know. Anybody else from the council, anybody from the audience have any comments, questions? We're good? Whatever you need, let us know, Madam Councilperson.
Awesome.
All right, thank you very, very much. Moving on, now we're moving you guys to the variances, the resolutions and ordinances. Thank you very much. We're moving to the first resolution, the garage conversion. Attorney Geller, do you have that in front of you to read it into the record? We're in I-1, resolution ordinances.
Before he does that,
Yes.
is there a way, we did something either last time or the time before where we had all the discussion, we're looking for more people have it, but to have Attorney Geller read all of the resolutions and then we voted. Am I keeping that history pretty good in my head?
Yeah, that was for something else, and I think we couldn't do that for these advertisements, I believe.
Okay,
Madam Clerk, wasn't that? These are hearings, so we
Okay.
couldn't do it for these hearings.
very good.
Yeah, if it was regular resolutions, ordinances, like next time we'll be able to do it. Thank you very much. Very good point, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Mr. Attorney.
Item I-1, a resolution of the Village Council of the Village of El Portal, Florida, authorizing the approval of the variance for a garage conversion at 456 Northeast 88th Street, as requested by Marcus Leone, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date.
Thank you very much, Attorney Geller. If we could please have the applicant come up to one of the podiums, please. If we could please have Camilla to the other podium, please. Camilla, if I remember correctly, when it comes to this applicant and this particular project, there wasn't anything that we were waiting on.
Correct.
Correct.
Yes.
Everything from the P&Z is the same thing that's coming back to us now. There was nothing that they had to adjust or anything like that. That's correct, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from the council? This is the same item that came through us through the P&Z. We weren't waiting for any changes or any adjustments. Okay. Hearing none. Do we have any questions or comments from the audience? Okay. Hearing none. Madam Clerk, may I please have a Madam Clerk. I need a motion first. May I please have a motion to approve Resolution I-1 2022? It doesn't have a final number yet, right? I-1. So moved by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Do I have a second? Second by Vice Mayor Erbaum. Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call?
Sure.
All in favor, say aye.
Roll call, Councilperson Martin.
Yes.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
Oh, yes.
Vice Mayor Erbaum.
Yes.
Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, Ms.
Thank
Leone.
you.
Take care. Moving on to
I too.
Yeah, but I need Attorney Geller to read into the record, though, so that's why I'll stop.
The clerk can read it.
I'll read it.
You want to do it?
I'll read it, it's
All right.
fine.
I-2, resolution site plan, new construction, Madam Clerk.
A resolution of the Village of Council of El Portal, Florida, granting a site approval for new construction of a 2804 square foot, one-story, single-family residence at 8998 North Miami Avenue in Zone 3, suburban residence in the Village of El Portal, An application by Monica Munoz, providing for findings, providing for conditions, providing incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date.
Thank you very much, appreciate that. Camilla, who, is anybody here to represent for the site plan, new construction? Camilla, for this one, was there anything that we were waiting on with this?
No, no changes for
No
this
changes, no
application.
adjustments? There's been no changes, no adjustments. Any questions or comments from the council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from the audience? Seeing, hearing none. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution I-2?
So moved.
Moved by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Martin. Madam Clerk, may I please have roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilperson Martin.
Yes.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Erbaum.
Yes.
Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this. For this next one, I-3, is the fences. Madam Manager, do you have a statement you need to read for this also, or no, you're good?
No, I do not have that. I never received it.
Okay, no problem.
The applicant is not present. Due to not the applicant being present, I asked the attorney that he said to be postponed for the next meeting.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, both of them, actually. I don't see nobody here for the roof as well. So
Okay.
both of them will be postponed for the September 27, 22.
We'll just do a quick motion, I vote. We'll postpone it.
Okay.
Okay. For
This is
I-3, for I-3 resolution, the fence resolution, the individuals are not here. Do I have a motion to postpone to the next council meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Vice Mayor Erbaum, second by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, moving on. I-4 resolution is the roof resolution. The applicant is not here at the meeting. Do I have a motion to move this to the next council meeting? Moved by Vice Mayor Erbaum. Do I?
Yeah.
It's September 20, yeah, the fourth Tuesday, September 27th? Fourth Tuesday of September, September 27th. I-4 resolution, do I have a motion to delay, to move this resolution to the September full council meeting, September 27th?
So moved.
Moved by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, second by Vice Mayor Erbaum. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, moving right along. We're going to reports. I have a few things to say on my report, real quick. But Madam Manager, your report, please.
I'll defer to you, Mayor, if you'd like to go first. I have no problem with that. Okay. All right, thank you. Well, then I'll keep my remarks short because it is an 11-page report. It is on the village website for anyone who cares to review what is happening in the village this month, or any follow-ups from projects and activities that we've been doing throughout the year. I do want to just mention that on July 23rd, which was just a few days ago, last Saturday, 10 a.m., Councilperson Martin hosted a short-term vacation rental community workshop here in the village chambers. We had a group of very active residents weighing in their thoughts and considerations about the fee proposal for the short-term vacation rental. A lot of man-hours went into it from the code enforcement and for myself in just researching and preparing that, but we have a viable consideration before the community and the council, and we hope to see an item in September to further flesh out the short-term vacation rental permitting, license application, and fees. We continue to work on the parks renovations project. The plans for the project were presented to the Sustainability and Resiliency Task Force members, as well as some members of the community and the Public Works Committee. All of those recommendations from the initial architectural landscape plans were reviewed, and then the revision plans will be coming into play very shortly. We'll be following up with next steps, and we hope that early fall we'll have the final plans ready for presentation, and then we can move forward with the projects, the renovations of the parks. In particular, I think what would be most critical and first on the list would be the parks in our archaeological zone, both Sherwood Park and the Tequesta burial mound. We have been getting some concerns from the annexed area, from the Biscayne Boulevard corridor regarding some construction noise as well as some activities at the Skatebird Miami Park. That park is in a Z5 zone. It has a business that is allowed to have music and activities and parking up to certain hours depending on the day. We have been working with residents trying to explain that these are, this is a zoning matter. These are allowed activities, including the construction over at the Cavista project. The Cavista project will be granted an extension of their construction hours to 7 a.m., just in the interest of getting that construction completed as quickly as possible so that life can return back to normal as quickly as possible. But in that vein, we do have to allow this work to be done, and both properties are going about it in the proper, through the proper channels by getting permits and special events permits and making these special requests. So we will grant those so that we can get those projects completed, and the Z5 zoning is being upheld. We've had a number of great things just happening here at the village with new staffing for our police department and our relatively new staffers, really stepping up and doing quite a bit. As you see, some great changes are happening, such as the digital marquee in the front. And as Mr. Pinsky mentioned earlier, as well as Representative Joseph, we are requesting funds and getting a lot of state funds or grants. I mean, some we're not getting, but we continue to ask. And we have been awarded the state through a FDOT grant. We did get a safety rotunda for the Horace Mann Middle School area, and that the plans and preparation are almost finalized. We're working with the village attorney to finish up one last item before we can submit and hopefully start construction in early fall on the Rotunda project for school safety, just in time for the new school year at Horace Mann. And that will hopefully alleviate a lot of the speeding issues in that area and also bring some beautification to the area. But it is a joint, well, it's between Miami Shores and El Portal. It is an El Portal project, but it is on Northwest 91st Street and Northwest 2nd Avenue. So we're excited about that. And we're also excited about a Phase 2 project where we will, in the El Jardín Stormwater Improvements project, we did secure some funding through the Resilient, it's the Florida Resilient Program for 2020-2021. We did receive funds for that, and so we'll be moving forward. I mean, we are always applying for grants. I am always looking for opportunities, and we only have a few projects that, really would make the tremendous impact, but any way we can fashion it, we do apply for whatever we can get. And as you hear, we don't always get it, but we dust ourselves off and keep pursuing other avenues to ensure we can bring something back to the village that won't incur any taxpayers' dollars, but also brings something of value that we can all benefit from. So the village, my manager's report is on the village website. If you have any further questions, please feel free to contact me directly. And we have an extensive archive of manager's reports. So if you want to see how projects have developed over the years, over the months, please do take a look, and don't hesitate to reach out and contact me. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Madam Manager. I appreciate it. Let me just say this. Madam Manager, there's a lot I could say. I think I'm going to save some for the State of the Village address, but just very, very quickly. When it comes to, Madam Manager, funding, grants, we are way ahead of the game. Madam Manager, I was kind of under the impression that And, I took some notes that I'm going to use for my State of the Village address in October. I was under the impression that I was kind of feeling, Madam Manager, that we got a report that was basically the report that we gave to them. Because, Madam Manager, we do not only go for one ask when we go for ask. For example, the sewer. We have the ask out for all of El Portal. As a matter of fact, Madam Manager, we get word that worst case scenario, 10 years, whatever that. I'm not in the picture that we broke ground. Wasn't I in that picture that we broke ground that was in the Miami Herald when we broke ground? Okay. We not only ask for the entire village and the entire community, but we break it down. So you have the west side. You have Northeast 2nd Avenue. There's news that just came out today that we've known, that we provided about a private business entity that's going to provide us with the Northeast 2nd sewage project. Did everybody hear that? Madam Manager, we didn't want that news out yet. Because the thing about it is that we don't announce things, Madam Manager, until the things are certain and done. See. So we just got a report of information that we provided to them. And we do it on multiple levels. So we'll do an ask. This is what me and manager do. We'll do an ask for all of El Portal. On a national level, on a state level, on a county level. We'll do an ask for Northeast 2nd on a national level, state level, county level. We'll do an ask for the west side, national, state, county. We'll do an ask for Sherwood Forest, national, state, county level. Then we'll do grants. We never stop. We have so many asks out there, we never stop. And then we get word about the AAA, that adaptation action area. Madam Manager, was I not did I not speak at the press conference when that thing first came about? Did I not speak at the press conference for that? I have a lot more to say in my State of the Village address. Attorney Geller, your report.
Nobody's sued us. We haven't sued anybody. We're good. Thank you. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Attorney Geller? Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Good and well for anybody can come right now and say anything about anything at all. Anything that's on your mind. Just come up and say your name, address for a record. Hearing none. Moving on. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Councilperson Martin, second by Vice Mayor Urban. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. All opposed say nay. Hearing none. The regular council meeting for Tuesday, July 26th is adjourned at 8:20 p.m. Thank you, everybody.